Howdy friends, it's August. This is Cozy Rosie Reads, and this is the start of another weekly reading vlog. I hope y'all are doing really well. Thank you so much for being here. So if you watched my vlog right before this, where I did a reading challenge with my new friend Ori, I had made it a goal in my monthly Clever Fox planner, monthly weekly planner. You can set goals for yourself, different things that you want to achieve and focus on that week. Mine was to actually complete my first ever reading challenge, readathon, buddy read, ever. I've never done one. And then you also get to put a reward for yourself if achieved. And my reward for finishing and completing my first ever readathon in collaboration with another booktuber was to purchase a new book. And I stumbled across this book very, very randomly. I was hanging out at Barnes & Noble with my family. We had just gotten lunch and we were like, let's just go wander around. And I was just casually looking around for some books. I think I was looking for something specific, but I honestly can't remember what it was now, and came across this copy of a book called The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada, and it is translated by David Boyd. I read the back, immediately intrigued because it is reminiscent, it says on the back, of Lewis Carroll, David Lynch, and Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, David Lynch and Hayao Miyazaki, my favorite artists, visionaries, creators of all time. The fact that both of them are combined with this, with Lewis Carroll, my cup of tea. It's a shorty little book, translated. I adore this cover. I took a picture of it and then I left. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I was like, you know what? This is the book that I really want to read. I want to read this now. I want to read this next. I want to just sit and enjoy this. So I bought it. So this is the book that I'm going to be starting this reading vlog off with. And let me read the back for you. Asa's husband is being transferred, and the young couple move next door to his family's home in the Japanese countryside. Asa tries to readjust to their remote rural lives until one day she comes across a strange creature, follows it to the embankment of a river, and ends up falling into a hole that seems to have been made specifically for her. In the series of bizarre experiences that follow, Asa begins to question her role in this world and her own sanity. Sounds so up my alley. I'm so excited to read this, my friends. I'm so excited. So that's what I'm going to be starting this vlog off with. I am currently at my parents' house because it's a beautiful day. I'm doing some laundry and I just really wanted to sit outside and get some sunshine. It's that time in the summer where air conditioning is just really, really cold, and then outside is really, really hot. So I'm kind of bouncing between being inside and outside as much as possible. My partner is going to be traveling in the next few days. He's leaving on Thursday. It's currently Tuesday. And he is going to be gone for the whole weekend out of state for some traveling. And I have no plans. I do not have any photo sessions. I don't have any weddings. I don't have any plans with friends at the moment, and so I really would love it to be a chilling out at home, getting caught up on work. Of course, I still have to work, but I thought it would be a fun little weekend because my partner's away, to read outside, to read as many shorty books as I can. I have severely deviated from my July TBR, and that's fine. It's the last week of July. I've been reading a lot and very consistently, and I want to keep that momentum going because of the reading challenge that Ori and I did. So I want to read some short books. I want to fly through stuff. I want to be outside. I want to maybe take myself to the beach. I just want to soak up this sweet, sweet summer sun and read short books and talk about them. So yeah, I'm so excited. So I'm going to sit here and read a little bit of The Hole, get started. I have not started this yet, and I will check in with you all a little bit later. But yeah, I hope this is just going to be a super reading, bookish filled weekend / week. Just find a lot of joy and love and happiness in books. So I hope you all are doing really, really well. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll check in with you soon when I get a little bit further into this. Hi friends, it's me and Sabrina, the Squashmallow. It's Thursday. I did not vlog like at all yesterday, but basically my best friend and I met up and we had lunch together, and then we walked to go get some ice cream, and it was just so lovely just catching up with her. Just had a really good time. Today I had to take my partner to the airport. Let me give you a quick check-in. I'm not quite done with the whole yet, but I am super close to finishing it. This book is under 100 pages, and I am currently on page 57. I am really enjoying this book. Really enjoying it. I love finding quirky, odd, weird tinies. It's like my favorite hobby is just reading and finding stuff like this that just is so odd and interesting and fun. So we're following this young woman named Asa, and beforehand she was working as a like temporary corporate person. So there was a lot of discussion in here about what it's like to be overworked and underpaid, not get bonuses, just kind of like the hustle and bustle of living in a bigger city in corporate Japan and how difficult it is. And then her husband gets a new job out in the countryside, which is actually closer to his family's home. So they move over there. Asa quits her job because the commute would be wild. It would be way too long. And so now she is a stay-at-home wife, and she is slowly or very quickly falling into boredom and a lot of almost feelings of depression, like things are slowing down. She doesn't have a lot to do. Once it hits like lunchtime, she is bored out of her mind. She's already cleaned the house, she's already cooked, and her husband is working really late nights until like midnight. So she has like no purpose right now. It feels like she doesn't know what to do with her time. They now live on the property that is his family's property, the husband, and what's his name? I can't remember his name. But so it's a house that his mom owns. His grandfather lives there as well, and there are just some very eerie scenes. This feels like very odd cryptic horror, because the grandfather definitely is senile and is just doing weird things, like over-watering the lawn. Every time Asa looks outside, the grandfather is watering the lawn until it's just like completely covered in all this water, and it's just he's always smiling. It's very small stuff like that that's just not normal behavior. That just feels unsettling with this writing style. And then one day Asa goes into town and she has to walk everywhere because she also doesn't have a car. So girl is stranded without a job, without a purpose, without motivation for anything in the morning, and also doesn't have transportation, lives out in the middle of nowhere. So she's walking and then she falls into a hole. And basically when she falls in, she becomes eye level with insects. So far we're very close to the end here, and she's only fallen into the hole once. I don't know what's gonna happen from there because so far not much has happened other than conversations with her husband, but I'm really loving it. I feel like this is one of those like underrated, like, but very quiet, unsettling kind of horror where it's not necessarily thriller or mystery or in your face terrifying. It's just unsettling. It feels like a dream where you know something's off, things don't feel right, but you can't pinpoint what's wrong. So I'm really enjoying this. I do have to say I don't think everyone would like this just because it's not classifiable. It kind of feels like it's very genre bending, but also I'm really enjoying it because there's a lot of dialogue in here, but you wouldn't be able to tell because the pages look like this, like very tiny font, and all of the dialogue is in paragraph format. So it'll just be quotation mark, quotation mark, quotation mark, quotation mark. So you just have to know who's speaking and kind of follow it from the beginning, and then it just all flows into one, and I really like that. I know some people don't like when there's funky things happening with formats of books, so just a heads up, that is something that happens. There's no paragraph spacing when dialogue happens. It is just throughout the entire book, back and forth in huge paragraphs with hardly any breaks. So it's a little overwhelming, but I think that really adds to the reading experience because it does feel really rushed and quick and very unsettling. So really enjoying this. Definitely gonna be finishing it today. I really need to go for a walk or something. It looks really nice and toasty out, so I might bring this to the park and just kind of hang out for a little bit and then see where the night takes me, friends. Hi friends, it is Friday. I have had a very odd day. It's fine, it's been a good day, like nothing bad has happened. There's Winston. I had yoga this morning with a friend and it was super lovely. It was a nice workout vinyasa. But since then, yeah, my body just feels really tired and I'm having a very odd brain day where like nothing sounds good. Nothing sounds good. Everything feels so lackluster. Even before I took a shower, I was like, I want to listen to a podcast. I want to find some new music. Nothing sounded good. I'd start listening to something, didn't like it. What show do we want to watch? What do we want to watch? I would turn something on, immediately lose interest. Like, it's just one of those days. No, it's not a super big issue or problem. Oh, you're so warm and toasty. You have such a long torso, just like your mama. Oh. Look at that saggy belly. I don't think people really want to be seeing that, Winnie. Yeah, it's just been a really odd brain day. Like, I have work that I should be doing and I need to get done, but I feel no creativity, no inspiration, no motivation, and I'm very grateful that I work for myself. And so if I choose not to work today, that just means I have to work extra hard tomorrow. And that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make right now and just endure my consequences tomorrow. But as an artist, I need creativity to do my job well and to feel good about it. And I don't feel good about it right now. Like, there's no media I want to consume right now, and it's so frustrating. I'm sure people can relate to this feeling, especially in this like day and age where we have access to so much media, podcasts, music, TV shows, movies, everything. There are just random days where nothing sounds good and nothing is vibing, and it's so frustrating. So if anyone has any recommendations for like podcasts or anything, please let me know. But yeah, it's just been an odd day. I even like tried cleaning, trying to feel motivated in some way, and I can't. I have another yoga class later tonight. It's a yin yoga, just some stretching and flexibility and stuff, and that's going to be really nice, but it's not for another few hours. It's currently a little bit after 2, I think. But I did finish reading The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada. This is super interesting. It ended very suddenly, and it's such an odd book. I don't even know how to explain it. It feels so something's not right here kind of feeling. But it's also so much distance between these relationships. Our main character, Asa, has like, we see no relationship with her and her husband. Very distant. He's on his phone all the time. He's working all the time. And she meets some very odd characters. Winston found a bird. But then she also meets a very interesting creature that she's never seen before. It is almost like this monster deer raccoon hybrid thing, and she follows it, and that's when she falls in the hole. So I don't think I mentioned that last time I was talking about this book, but it's so much about like family. This feels very reminiscent to me of like the show, which is like an anthology series called Channel Zero. It's like American Horror Story, but 10,000 times better. It's like one of my favorite shows. And there's this one, I think it's their first season, called Candle Cove. This feels like that, where things are just slightly off, that it feels like a dream, and it feels very bizarre and okay. Where it just feels really odd, and you know something's off, but you can't put your finger on like what's off, and there's no resolution. It's so quirky and weird, and it's just like, it's done. You're kind of getting more and more invested over like the mundane daily things that Asa does, but then it just gets weirder and weirder, and then it ends. And you're like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what to think of it, but like, it's just the whole atmosphere of it. It's just quiet and strange and surreal and bizarre, but in a way that still feels oddly realistic. So it's like magical realism, but also not. I don't even know. So finished reading that. I think this, for me, I need to linger on it a little bit, but just the experience of reading this itself with like the cover, what it was about, everything like that, to me this definitely feels like a 4-star read, but I don't think it would be a 5-star. I didn't get a whole lot of emotions, but to me this almost feels like the vibe of like normcore, where it's like just everyday daily life, and it's super chill and nothing super weird or wild happens, but it still feels weird and aesthetic, and I really like the vibe it gave me and the feelings. But it wasn't strong feelings. It was just so minimalist. Even the writing style is very minimalist. And just, this is what happened. this is how things felt. No purple prose, like this is just what it is. So I really recommend it, but also I don't think everyone will like it because it is a very odd little thing, but I really enjoyed it. So there's that. Sorry for all the camera angle stuff. I don't really know what I'm doing. So I have 2 other books that I would like to read this weekend, and they're both very, very short. So the first is I Could Be Your Neighbor, Isn't That Horrifying by Cavin, Bryce, Gonzalez. This is a very odd little book of like vignettes, short stories, poems, and it's very reminiscent of like kind of quote-unquote trailer trash, where it's confessions of a depraved man seeking solace from his invasive thoughts in the Floridian hellscape. Sounds exactly what I want right now, just like bizarre, weird, disgusting things. It reads like it's just a guy talking to you, and I'm really excited to read this. I think it's gonna be so up my alley and bizarre and fun and quirky, and I'm really excited. Then I'm going to hop into Red Lights by Simenon. First name is Georges, I believe. Yeah, Georges Simenon. It is translated from French by Norman Denny. So this is a French book, but it takes place in New York City. Red Lights as well is a lot of dialogue, so I do feel like hopefully I can go through it pretty quickly. So I am really excited for both of these, like very, very excited to just read. Very odd, that's the theme I guess for this vlog, is just very odd, quirky little shorties. And I'm really excited about all of them. I really like the covers and the shortness, and I love finding just like super indie, under the radar things like these. So I have high hopes. Anyway, I don't know if I'm gonna go to the park to read. I might just make myself some lunch right now and just watch Seinfeld and do a coloring book or something. Like, I have no motivation and it's annoying me. Okay, this clip feels cursed. I'm going to go. Good morning, friends. It is Saturday morning. It is time for me to face the consequences of my indecision and lack of motivation yesterday. So I have you propped up on our brand new desk, and this is our little corner now. We totally reinvented this space. We have this lime green bookcase. You might recognize this print from last summer when I got it framed. We have some funky thrifted cat paintings I found a while ago, and we just had no idea where to put it. And then these are Alex's books here. And I love this little nook. It's not fully done. Honestly, if you look at the ground, it is just completely filled with like boxes of stuff because we have just destroyed the apartment trying to like piece things back together and making it a little bit more homey and a little bit more functional at the same time. So I'm in this little corner. I'm gonna sit here with my laptop in a little bit and get a lot of work done. But yesterday after my yin yoga class, I went over to my sister's house and we decided to walk around downtown, and we stumbled across a jazz festival, which was so rad. And when I got home, as you saw, I did a face mask and then I read I Could Be Your Neighbor, Isn't That Terrifying by Cavin, Bryce, Gonzalez, and I finished it all last night. I loved this. I loved this so much. And I annotated so much from this book as well. Like, just so many things hit me emotionally, and I felt so seen by this book, but also like so sad for this author because it is a mix of memoir and personal tales, but then also some like magical realism things and different characters, so you have to kind of decipher for yourself what's actually from the author's perspective and what's make-believe. But boy, I loved it. Definitely a lot of like content warnings though, because this is a narrator, it's all first person. The narrator / the author definitely has an air of alcoholism and addiction, and a lot of suicidal thoughts, so definitely be cautious going into it. But I loved it. And I think for me, what I'm realizing when I read 5-star books, it's usually when I'm not doing well in my head and I'm having a really hard time, and then I read literature that I'm like, this person is saying things that like I can relate to 1000% right now, and I feel so seen, and I can enjoy this literature, and I'm annotating, and I'm not coming from like a really super happy headspace. Yesterday was just such a bummer for me. I did not feel good in my head. So then to read a character who's equally feeling as aimless and unimportant and unloved and all of these like, you know, the core beliefs we sometimes have about ourselves, that we're just like inherently unlovable, and those things get buried and they're just so subconscious sometimes, but then you just have days where you feel it very fully. This author just really blatantly said a lot of things. So I wanted to share a few of the things I annotated, but also the blurbs on the back that are given, like the reviews, are so accurate to how I felt about reading this book too. So I don't feel like what I can say will even be as eloquent as what these reviews are. So I agree with them 1000%. They say, I Could Be Your Neighbor is like a funhouse mirror. You'll recognize yourself in it, but you may not like the reflection. Exactly. I read Cavin's Flash collection, then I shaved my head and drove on the wrong side of the highway and ran naked through Target. That's the energy that this book is. But I annotated so much, and there's beautiful writing in here, and it just feels so sad and lonely, but also very relatable and funny at times, like really funny. I was chuckling to myself. This one is a tour of my humble abode, and he's acting like he's actually giving a tour of his house, like going through each room and telling you what to expect there. There's one part where it says, you know, here's the kitchen. Sometimes at night I stand in my kitchen. It's dark and I can't see how high the water is when I fill my glass. But I've filled this glass so many times that it's like an evil intuition, a sad superpower, and I know exactly when to stop filling the glass. I'll stand in my dark kitchen and drink the same glass of water again and again and again. Let's move on. There are so many beautiful ones. This one is called Hermitude, and he's talking about how he watches YouTube documentaries on marine life when he's trying to find some sense of escapism and curing boredom. It says, when the boredom assaults at full force, I know that there's always the pixelated TV fish, recordings of seals, whales, British men talking slowly, coddling me, kissing my forehead. Talking about Sir David Attenborough. This one's just beautiful. Like, I'm just going right in a row. These are 3 stories in a row, and I'm just like, the writing is so my style and what I enjoy. This one's Pruned Fingers, talking about if he puts his ear to his porcelain bathtub, he can hear the organs of his house operating. In order to hear these organs stir, I must first recognize myself as part of the house, be absorbed into the various pipes weaving throughout it. Then I grow carpet out of my flesh and fuse my mouth to the bathtub drain. I sit there for so long that all the bubbles die away and I sprout gills, fill my throat with mold and drown over and over again. When these conditions are met, if I put my ear up to the bathtub walls, I can hear them, the organs, and it's as close to peace as I may ever know. Woof! Woof! And then just a lot of thoughts, again, this is just the very next one, about what it's like to just be human and you don't feel like you have things figured out and you don't feel like you belong in one category of civilization versus the other. A minotaur is a monster, half man and half bull. I am a monster too, except I'm half furious and half belligerent, drunk off of cheap beer and plastic bottle whiskey. The Sphinx tells riddles, but the only riddle I'm interested in is this one. If I want to be a better person, then why haven't I gotten any better yet? I annotated so much. I loved this. Definitely think I'm gonna rate it 5 stars, and I'm curious to see if it lingers with me. It feels like a 5-star to me. I'm so happy I found this in my little free library voyage, and I just thought it'd be funny and weird and maybe a little dark humor. 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book and collection of poems and short stories and everything. Like, just so fantastic. Holy shit, I was just like really blown away by this, and I read it all in one sitting, and it just like made me feel so emotional and feel so seen, and like he had like crawled into my brain. But then also there were some things that I could not relate to and were just really over the top, but also still so beautifully written in that very like Southern American way, it feels like. Like I said yesterday, a little bit of that hint of almost pride of being like quote unquote trailer trash, which is just a very common saying, at least in the States. So then last night I did start reading Red Lights, and I didn't realize this. So I got 13 pages in, and I did not realize it until I was looking at the copyright. This was originally written in 1955, and I was curious because this couple is at a bar. That's how we open up. They're at a bar, they're getting ready to pick their kids up from summer camp, and they're smoking inside a restaurant. So I immediately knew, I'm like, I don't think this is a modern day book. We don't do that anymore, because it takes place in New York City. So I looked at the copyright date to see like, when was this written? When would this possibly take place? 1955. So it's French 1955 literature. I had never heard of it before finding it at my local indie bookstore in their $1 section. Also in really good condition, so I don't think it's really even been read. But so far I'm really enjoying it. Again, we're following this male protagonist who is definitely suffering from addiction. He, even on his way to go pick up his kids from summer camp, is just thinking about stopping off the side of the highway for like multiple drinks all the way up. And then we do know, based on the back, that he does fall into a bender and probably has way too many drinks. And then he blacks out, and then he's trying to figure out what happened when he wakes up. So I'm really excited to read more of this and hopefully finish it by the time I have to pick Alec up from the airport. So that is that. I have to respond to emails. I have to edit a whole gallery. I am hoping I can film my August TBR jar challenge today. So yeah, I gotta hop into work now, but wonderful literature, my friends. Super, super wonderful literature. I'm so happy about what I've been reading this weekend. Oh my gosh, I just feel so lucky to have found such fun, weird, odd, quirky little things, and this is my jam. I feel finally getting kind of like back into like finding books that feel in my lane. I like giving chances to books that like I've heard of before and that I've seen around, but I think my true joy comes from finding books that I've never heard of or seen or heard anyone talk about, and then just having no preconceived notion of what to expect and just going in and finding pure delight. Yeah, I'm really happy. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some work. I will check in with you all a little bit later. I just got back from the beach. I picked up some lunch for myself and I feel so relaxed and so good. I was at the beach for a good like 3 hours, got super hot and tan, and then whenever it got like too hot, I just like hopped right into the water and swam around, and it was so much fun. I feel so refreshed and I can't wait to hop in the shower because I have lake water hair right now. But I wanted to give an update, there's sand on my copy, of red lights. I loved taking this to the beach. Now, because of my like wet hair and stuff, I gave it some little water damage on accident. Oh, I just love water damage in books so much. I didn't mean to, and it was so hot outside too with this black cover. The whole book itself has started warping. I am now on page 90. That's where I left things off. Things have happened in this book, and I'm really intrigued by it. I don't think this is something I normally would gravitate towards, this like writing style, towards this plot, but for some reason this is really intriguing to me, and I just really want to know where it ends. We have this like very, very microscopic view of our main character, Steve. He is on his way up north to Maine to pick up his kids from summer camp with his wife. There are definitely, like I mentioned before, there's definitely some alcoholism in here because Steve just wants to stop along the highway and keep getting drinks. And even though it's written in third person, you're getting a lot of Steve's thoughts being like, I'm not an alcoholic, this is just something I do like very randomly, and for some reason today specifically I feel like I really need a drink. So as he and his wife are traveling in the car, he keeps pulling over to these like restaurants to use the bathroom, but really he's taking shots. And then he gets back behind the wheel, and finally he's like, you know what, I do want a drink. Starts picking a fight with his wife. He pulls over, he goes and has a drink, and when he comes back out, his wife is gone and left a note saying like, I'll meet you up there. He's all like angry, just very toxic masculinity, just like, screw my wife, like she's so annoying and she's always just so cool as a cucumber and like treats me like a child, and very just enraged for no reason. But you can tell it's very internalized what he's feeling, even though he doesn't fully understand why he's feeling that way. And at the same time, there's also news broadcasts going on about a man named Sid who escaped from a local prison, and he's currently on the run. They can't find him, so everyone be cautious. He's armed, he's dangerous. And guess who Steve runs into at a bar? It's Sid! And some very odd things happen. Okay, so it does say that they make a friend. So they meet in the bar and then things happen. I don't want to give too much away, but it kind of turns a little bit into like a hostage situation, but Steve is super drunk and thinks that him and Sid are like tight and thick as thieves and best friends. But when Steve wakes up the next morning in his car, everything's been taken. So his wallet's gone, he has no idea where his wife is. He calls the summer camp where his kids are and was like, is my wife there? And she is not. So he has been trying to locate her. He is calling, so you have to use a payphone. So he's spending all of his leftover money that he has trying to make calls to locate his wife to find out something pretty tragic happened to her. So that's the part where I'm at. I don't have much to go. I think I have like 60 pages left. I'm very curious to see where it goes, but the writing style itself is... The writing style is very bland and very rudimentary. It's like, this is what happened, this is what he said, this is what he thinks, here's what everyone else around him is doing. There's no, once again, purple prose. It's very, very simple, it's very linear, and it's just following this narrative. And I'm really curious to see where it goes. I'm oddly very invested and intrigued. There have been a few lines in here where it's like, is this the moral? A lot about just like internalized anger, not really understanding his relationship with his wife, and then once she goes missing and like, you know, he can't find her, and then something tragic happens to her, he all of a sudden is like, I would give my left arm for her, I would give 10 years off my life just to be with her again, and all that appreciation comes back. So it just feels very like story of the modern relationship, like monogamous heterosexual couples in the 1950s. Just this like weird toxic masculinity of like wanting to make risky decisions and just be adventurous and be a lad kind of thing, and then realizing like you do have a life and you have a wife and you have 2 kids. What are you doing? Befriending a criminal and drinking and driving and just making a lot of reckless decisions. So very interesting. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where it goes and if it has a bigger moral. Right now, I am gonna finish this book before I have to pick my partner up from the airport. His flight just got delayed. So I'm gonna actually make a silly sign, like a welcome home sign. I'm gonna draw something. Because when we were first dating, I lived in Toronto and he came by train to visit me one day, and I made a sign and I did an illustration of him. It was really funny and I want to kind of recreate that. And yeah, so I'm going to illustrate like a little silly cheesy sign. I got a neon lime green poster board to be really obnoxious. Hello! All right, I will check in with you all a little bit later when I finish Red Lights. LMAO. There's Allie. Inside joke with the flamingos. Also, while he was on this trip, he hit his face into a diving board, so I have to include his battle scar because he's gonna come home with a big old scab on his face. I'm so proud. I hate myself. I love it. Okay, time for coloring. I got this bingo marker to hopefully make these letters super thick and chunky. And then I have some of these markers here to add some color. Of course, these flamingos are gonna be pink, so I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. It's almost 11 p.m. Alex's flight was delayed. I finished reading Red Lights just now. I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. I am curious to see if it will linger in my noggin if I think about it. The reading process and like reading between the lines of what this narrative was about was super interesting, and I did end up annotating a little bit more of it. I forgot to mention this in the first few clips where I'm talking about this book, but it does happen, I would say, within the first like 20 pages. This does take place in the 1950s and was written in the 1950s, and there is some outdated language, specifically around Black and African American characters, or even just references of people of color. Be cautious of that. It's a little jarring to see. The N-word is not used, but there are some other like derogatory terms that we no longer use. So that's definitely, it's a piece of its time, so it's very uncomfortable to read. I really did, other than that, like enjoy the book and where it went. There are a lot of content warnings. It got worse as it went on, so just be super cautious. There is some SA, some assault, physical violence, alcoholism, addiction, all of that stuff. A lot with like hospitals, injuries, trauma. It got pretty dark pretty fast, but I really enjoyed the underlying themes through this about internalized inferiority complexes and how, when not like spoken up about, or if you just consistently feel inferior, can come out as rage, can come out as very like self-sabotaging and self-destructive. It was really, really interesting. So I really liked the very small sections we'd get in here of psychoanalysis of our main character, Steve. So overall, I think right now I'm gonna give this like 3.5 stars, 4 stars. I just like really enjoyed it and flew through it, and I'm really happy I did. And I really love reading translated work. didn't really know it was written in the 1950s, but that's just a really cool aspect. Just picking up a book I'd never heard of, giving it a try, and I found it personally really enjoyable. I would say when it gets closer to the end, around the 100-page mark, things really pick up, and it definitely feels like a thriller. Things just are happening at a much quicker pace. Before that, it was like you had no idea where the story was going, you were just along for the ride. And then, yeah, nearing the end, it definitely felt like a thriller, and then it felt a little bit more like literary fiction near the end, with some very in-depth character studies and really beautiful moments between characters that were very metaphoric and profound. So I really enjoyed it. Honestly, just really enjoyed it. I have to leave for the airport in an hour and surprise Alec with that sign that I made. Just I'm so excited. I don't know why I'm so proud of that sign, but I am. Like, it's the little things. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let's do some emojis. So first, we read The Hole. The cover of that has some grass. I know there's like some grassy little emojis. You could do a little hole, like an Alice in Wonderland hole. I know there's like a little hole emoji, which is very weird. Why do we have that? The second one was I Could Be Your Neighbor, Isn't That Terrifying? And that one references a lot of like Southern American cuisine. So maybe some like, I know there's like a drumstick emoji. You could do some like grill icons, grilling. Yeah, just anything like outdoorsy barbecue kind of vibe. And then for red lights, let's do some cars. Or you could just pick one of the other. I don't know. I just love doing a random string and then seeing what you all pick. It just makes my heart so happy. Yeah, so this one, just have fun with it. If you remember the covers, just find some fun, weird stuff that resemble the covers of these books. All in all, I loved this vlog. I loved reading 3 weird, interesting, quirky short books that I had never heard of. I just randomly picked up. It fueled my heart so much, and I feel so good. And all I want to do is just keep finding weird, short, quirky little books, little shorties. But thank you all so incredibly much for being here, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you all again very soon for my next one. Stay cozy, my friends. Bye!